All right, hey Christian, it's Emily. Sorry, it's taken me a minute to get you this feedback. I have been on vacation and in Houston for the Apple Distinguished Educator Conference. And so that's relevant because you certainly helped me get there. So it was an awesome time, and thank you for your part in helping me share my story. So you asked for a little bit of feedback on your portfolio. I know you're getting close to graduating and want to make sure that this is all buttoned up and on point. Your style is really well reflected in what you've got going on here. You have a visual medium, so it makes sense to have this video here of you doing your work. I think that that is an appropriate introduction into your portfolio here. The branding is strong. It's always been clean, and I felt really, represented what you do very well. Your navigation options up here. So we have videography, photography, communicate, and downloads. All of that is, it's intuitive in terms of what could I find when I go to these spaces, but they're really super small. And you've used a font here that is light in terms of weight. And so it makes it a little bit harder to see. So my recommendation here would be to bump that up a couple of sizes. And then also if you could to make it just a hair thicker, right? So just to make it a little bit more bold. Because aside from your branding information, your navigation here is going to be paramount and important, and it needs to be easily seen and interacted with on every page. So I'm scrolling down here and we've got who, and it's just a short little bio about you, which is great. I have some concerns about the center alignment of the text because there's not a ton of it. The center alignment is fine, but if you have any more than this, really it should be left aligned just because that's it's easier for readability purposes. Again, I'm finding this typeface to be a little small. Again, this is a visual site, so you don't have a need for much words, but maybe a little bit bigger here. I do like the font choice, though. I think it's a nice complement to what you've got going on here. History, I'm not quite sure if that's intuitive in terms of the titling, right? So that is, maybe these are clients or their projects or their experiences. History isn't the best descriptor for this. I would maybe say, clients or who I've worked with or projects even. So we've got down here, we've got two kind of testimonials, which are great, but you give it the same visual appearance as what we see up here. So you kind of have to look a little bit harder to to see that this is kind of a testimonial. Maybe give it a slightly different visual appearance of some kind. I like that it's on brand in terms of like the overall aesthetic. Maybe all it needs is just a section that you see the way you have introduced these sections as in who, question mark, history. Maybe this just says what people say or word on the street. Something of that nature that just kind of lets people know that it's the testimonial section. And then here's the areas that I can connect with you online. So that's awesome. I'm going to go up here to videography. As I'm loading in that page, I see the recent work. I've got it all lined up here. I love the grid type format. Oh, that's a terrible, terrible thumbnail. Help me out there. Everything looks nice. It's titled appropriately. So this is videography. So I know that this is work that you have have done yourself. I like that you include the title. You might include, more so what your role was on it as well, if that's not clearly communicated. So on this, you did, a lot. You edited it, but you also helped shoot it. And I'm sure that that was true in multiple, in multiple examples that you're sharing here. Your show reel, which is awesome, needs to be on your homepage. Right, that was actually something that I wanted to say. We've got kind of like this background, this background film going there, but after the who, include your show reel right here. It needs to be front and center. Under photography, so here we have individuals. Now, so like stylistically, this is very different to have this bold, large title over the banner. That's not something we've seen yet. So it's jumping out to me as a stylistic difference. So if we go back here under videography, small page title, recent work. Here, it's a totally differently styled page with the banner and then the overlay. So here we've got some, different images. I'm going to click on one just to see what happens. It looks like it's just loading it up kind of in a carousel type format. And that's nice. I mean, like, you really don't need to say much more than that. But what I will say is this: you say photography and then you say individuals. There's no other sections, right? So if you had a section that said groups or weddings or events, then it would make sense to turn it into sections or have these headings. But since you don't, it just looks like it's not consistent with this, right? So something to think about there. Communicate, so let's collaborate. We've got this nice large banner overlay, which is consistent with what we saw on the photography page, but not what's consistent on the videography or the home page. Let's make things happen. All that looks good. I like the language and the wording of it. It's fitting for you. Downloads. So here we go. It's time to reap what we've sown. So here is it's a place where you can share stuff with your clients, and it's a password protected page. That's totally cool and doable. I'm trying to click back to go to the home page, but not really, it's not working for me. What's going on here? So like I've totally lost navigation. I can't go anywhere else, and I'm trying to click on this home page and it's not working. I'm going to go back. Let's try this again. Downloads. It's taking me to the page, but somehow this isn't working, right? So that's a usability or just like a user experience consideration. I was curious about this, because it said downloads, and I was like, ooh, what am I going to get? What can I get here? But it really isn't for me, and it's really not for everybody. It's just for somebody that you've happened to be working with. And a lot of people are going to click on that because they're going to be curious and they're going to want to see what's there, and then they're going to be trapped. So I'm considering that maybe you should rethink this, putting this up here in the high top level navigation. Maybe it's something, a link that goes in the footer, right? And also put a copyright statement. This is all your work, copyright to your name. And then you could put a link down here that just says, it could say downloads down here, or it could say, client access, something to that effect. But putting it up here, makes it look like it's for everyone, and it's clearly not because you need a password. Overall, your work it speaks for itself. It's stellar. You're really talented. There are a few tweaks that you should consider making here, but overall, I think that this is a really nice representation of your really strong skill set. Good job, Christian.